Hello, everyone. My name is Hunter, and this is a review of The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 1. Now, this will be a spoiler review, so I will be free to talk about whatever I want from this episode. There are no limits. Now, this season picks up not from Mandalorian Season 2, but it picks up after the Book of Boba Fett, which had some major story changes for The Mandalorian. For some reason, in a show about Boba Fett, I really like the Mandalorian stuff in the show. I just kind of wish that it was part of the Mandalorian show. It's just kind of weird because if you wanted to say like in a few years from now, if you wanted to watch the Mandalorian and you haven't seen any of the episodes, you would probably be very confused after we got from season 2 to season 3. You would be like, when did all this stuff happen from Boba Fett? And then you have to look it up. So it's a very confusing situation. I didn't like it when it happened to Boba Fett. I loved what they showed in Boba Fett for The Mandalorian. I thought it was really interesting, and I liked it itself. I just wish it wasn't in Boba Fett, the TV show itself. Does that make sense? Now, the entire story for this episode is Din Djarin, who's the Mandalorian, obviously, and Grogu trying to find their way to get to the planet of Mandalore, which is where the Mandalorians are from, and he needs to bathe in the waters beneath the salt mines on the planet so he can rejoin the Mandalorians after he took off his helmet to look at Grogu in season 2. This entire episode is just pretty much setting things up for future episodes. There really isn't any sense of urgency yet. We do get confronted by pirates. The Mandalorian and Grogu get confronted by pirates quite a few times, and they seem like they're probably going to be a threat throughout the season. I love these pirates. If there's one thing I love about this episode, and it's probably the biggest thing I love about this episode, it's the set design and costume design. It is incredible. The pirate captain with all of his like his plant stuff on his face, he looks awesome. And then you got we got the little Babu Freak characters back, and it looks like it's stop motion, which I think was very interesting. They use a lot of practical effects in this episode, which makes it feel what's the right word? It's gonna be a little cheesy, but I it feels magical. I love this episode. It feels like old Star Wars, and because you're just seeing so many of these really cool practical effects. I'm gonna be honest with you. I love practical effects much more than CGI. They look so much more. I mean, they're real. They're actually there. Grogu is a puppet. He's been a puppet from the very beginning, and I'm so glad they made him a puppet. I don't think he would be near as endearing if he was like CGI the entire time. Um, they use a lot of stop motion. I think they use stop motion for So one of the story points of this episode is when they're trying to get IG-11 back because it's the only droid Din Djarin trusts, which is great. It's a great some great fan service here for just watchers of the show itself. Um, and when I loved it when I saw IG-11, he reverted back to his like initial state where he wanted to, kill Grogu. That was his mission, and so he reverted back to his like initial protocol or whatever you call it. And he started chasing Grogu around the room in that one scene. And it was stop motion and it looked kind of jarring to be honest, but it felt charming. You know what I mean? And that's just what this episode is. It's setting things up and it's showing you amazing set design and amazing practical effects. And it just feels magical throughout the entire episode. Story wise, there's not much going on yet. There's no sense of urgency except for those pirates, the amazing looking pirates. Um, but for me, it was all of those effects and scenes and stuff that really drove this up to personally one of my favorite pieces of Star Wars content in a long time. Um, so if I had to give this episode a rating, I would give it out of zero to 100. I would probably give it a 70. 70. I would give it a 70. Yes. I consider 70 to be good. A very good start. And I hope we can actually get some more stories, more urgency up from here. And thank you for watching. That's the end of this review. Goodbye.